welcome to our MS podcast, Not Alone. Today we're launching a special episode, an interview style, and we're joined by Nicola Graham, who is a trained nutritionist and who was engaged by MS to develop the Eat Well, Live Well tool. You will find our other podcast episodes on our website, ms.org.au, or via your favourite podcast provider, e.g. iTunes or Spotify. So welcome, Nicola.
Hello, Belinda, and thank you very much for inviting me in today.
So, Nicola, why do you think people diagnosed with MS want to make changes to their diet? Isn't it just something else they have to do in an already overwhelming and stressful situation?
Good point, Belinda. I think perhaps for some people, when you're initially diagnosed, for sure, any additional requirement will feel overwhelming. But for a lot of people that I speak to, making positive changes to their diet is a really important way of regaining some control and some improvement in quality of life when they're living with an unpredictable and chronic health condition. So it can be very empowering. It's an area in your life where you can make a real positive difference. And the great thing about getting into a more healthy diet is that the side effects are positive. So you tend to feel better, have more energy, your blood markers improve. You manage your symptoms better, such as constipation, fatigue, weight fluctuations, bladder urgency, and relapses. So it's going to contribute positively and significantly to your overall health and well-being. But I think the biggest piece is that people start to feel a sense of control in their life again when they've felt quite out of control. I would just like to stress, though, Belinda, that before you make significant changes to your diet or decide to take supplements or not, I'd strongly advise that you speak to your GP or a qualified nutritionist or a dietitian, just to make sure you're getting all of the nutrients that you need, and also that you take the time to consider what is right for you, your health, your budget, how you want to manage your health in the long term. And these are very personal and very individual choices. I hope this podcast will help people to make these personal choices a bit more informed.
Thanks, Nicola. So is there any basis to Hippocrates' quote, "Let food be your medicine and medicine be your food"?
There certainly is a strong basis, and in many cultures around the world, they certainly have eaten their food from a medicinal consideration. There's lots of studies linking diet with health, far too many to mention. And it seems quite obvious, really, that what we eat is going to affect our health. There's a 2014 study that I think illustrates the point really well. It was published in the Journal of Epidemiology and Community Health, and it found that people who ate 7 or more portions of fruit and veg per day had a 42% lower risk of death at any point in time compared to those who ate less than 1 portion. So take-home message there is clearly, the more fruit and vegetables you eat, the more protection you're afforded from disease and death. And that's what we refer to in medicine as a dose-response effect.
And for people with MS, Nicola, if we think in terms of traffic lights, what are the green lights, the amber lights, and the red light foods?
Well, that's a really useful way to group foods. I like that. So yes, let's think about green light foods. So they would include really nutrient-dense foods. So every time you eat, it's an opportunity to really nourish yourself. And the green light foods would obviously be fruit and vegetables. And by vegetables, I mean lots of different coloured, rainbow colour of vegetables on your plate. Great cereals, so where you've got whole grains and all those fantastic nutrients. So get rid of the white bread. There's no need for white bread. Let's make sure you get some great nutrients in when you have your pasta and your breads and your quinoa and your barley. And very, very importantly, for people who've got multiple sclerosis, omega-3 unsaturated fats. So that's your oily fish, salmon, sardines, mackerel, and flaxseed oil, ground flaxseed, leafy green veggies, and out of all the nuts, walnuts have a great omega-3 profile. So they'd be your green light foods. Your red light foods to avoid would be saturated fat. So we want to limit all those luscious things like cream and butter and biscuits and cakes. I think that's obvious in most diets. Most healthy diets would indicate that. in MS, salt has been implicated as something that we want to reduce, so low salt options. And I think the important point with salt is that our taste buds really, really miss salt initially, and then they adapt, and it takes about 2 weeks. So, and then, of course, sugar. That's a red light food. We want to reduce the amount of sugar in our diet. It's hidden in so many cereals and drinks and even savoury foods. So we definitely, sugar, when we metabolize it, Belinda, actually uses up nutrients. So it's a negative nutrition. And if you are drinking alcohol, then moderating that. And then our amber lights, things to enjoy in moderation, would be protein, so great quality meat. And we want grass-fed meat because there's a better omega-3 profile with that. If you're having dairy, then high-quality dairy products. So your natural yogurt you might like to include. And with all the work being done on the microbiome at the moment, so that's the bacteria in our gut, then we want pre and probiotics. So we want prebiotics such as onions and blueberries and bananas and garlic and legumes and spinach. And we also want the probiotics that we can find in fermented foods such as sauerkraut, kefir, kimchi, kombucha. So does that help? I hope that sort of groups things into easy groups like the green, red and amber lights.
It certainly does, Nicola. And I'm just picking up on a point. You mentioned anti-inflammatory diet. What foods have particular anti-inflammatory properties?
Well, I'm glad you've asked that, Belinda, because that's so important in something like multiple sclerosis that has an inflammatory aspect to it. So we want people to have an anti-inflammatory diet. And again, it comes back to those omega-3s. And omega-3s have been associated with improved quality of life, reduced disease activity, reduced disability, less frequency of relapses, etc. So people with MS are very interested in omega-3s. And again, as mentioned, they're found in foods such as oily fish, flaxseed, walnuts and green vegetables. And there's lots of studies that have associated flaxseed with a lower risk of developing MS. They are association-based studies, not interventions, and there is a difference there, although there is some work being done in that space. And an example would be a recent study reported at ECTRIMS, which is the European Committee for Treatment and Research in MS, in Barcelona, that reported that a higher intake of omega-3s or plant-based essential fatty acids may reduce the risk of developing MS. So there's that preventative aspect with omega-3s that appears to be happening as well. Turmeric's anti-inflammatory, so get your turmeric latte and your dal and things, and pomegranates. And there's a chemical compound in pomegranate fruits which has been shown to slow the progression of diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's by treating inflammation in the brain. So that's an interesting area. We love pomegranates. Avocados, although they don't have the ideal fat ratio, if you like, it's packed full of oleic acid, and oleic acid is the most common fat in myelin, and myelin is that insulation around the nerve that gets affected by multiple sclerosis. So we're quite interested in making sure our diet has some good oleic acid. So olive oil is great for that, and avocado is a fabulous source of that. So my top anti-inflammatory foods then are all about omega-3s, the oily fish, the flaxseed, in particular the flaxseed, and your turmeric, your pomegranate, those types of delicious foods.
Fabulous. Thank you, Nicola. And what about supplements? Is there any basis to take supplements?
That's a good question, and that's a tricky one, Belinda. To my mind, it's definitely preferable that you get all your nutrients from whole food and not from individual manufactured supplements. There may be reasons why a person is not able to eat a good balanced diet, or it may be that a person's not absorbing nutrients well, or perhaps the health condition a particular health condition makes it important to supplement. So they might be cases where you might choose to supplement. I think if you are supplementing, then choose supplements that are as close to food-based as possible. So be discerning. So I think they have their place, but studies have shown that whole food is generally always preferable. So the sort of supplements that I think might be worth considering, obviously in MS, vitamin D, and this is usually managed by the person's neurologist. We know the link between vitamin D and MS is strengthened by the association between sunlight and risk of MS. The further away from the equator a person lives, the higher the risk of MS. We know that sunlight is the body's most efficient source for active vitamin D via UVB rays. We know that a higher level blood serum vitamin D correlates with a slower progression of MS. So we really do want to keep the blood levels of vitamin D at a certain level. So a neurologist will manage that and monitor the blood levels and supplement accordingly. Obviously, in Australia, if you're exposing your body to sunlight, you've got to be careful that you're not increasing your risk of sun cancer. So I would probably recommend that you use the Sun Smart tracker, and you can keep a track on the UV levels, and it also has a vitamin D tracking aspect in that app as well, so you can download that app. Other vitamins that you might think about supplementing are vitamin B's. They're water soluble, so they're relatively safe to take in moderate doses, and we're interested in them because they're great for energy production and for a healthy myelin sheath and for the nervous system. So B12 and folate, which is B9, seem to be most important. And so they're the ones that we're predominantly looking at. B12 in particular, that's required for the conversion of homocysteine, which is an essential amino acid, into methionine. And homocysteine is neurotoxic. So we do want to make sure that that conversion takes place and that all the cofactors are available in the body for that conversion to happen. So B vitamins seem to work together synergistically, so it's generally advised to take them as a whole group. If you are trying to get B12 from your food, that can be tricky, but it is found in small quantities in meat, eggs, poultry, fish and yeast products, and some cereals are fortified with it. Some people produce some B12 in their gut bacteria as well, but B12 also needs you to have good hydrochloric acid in your stomach. So some people are on antacids or protein pump inhibitors, so they're going to struggle to get the B12 in that case. So, and if you're vegetarian, chances are you'll need to supplement with B12. It's hard to get it in a vegetarian diet.
Thanks, Nicola. Some really helpful pointers there. Everyone's talking about gut microbiome and bacteria. What are your comments in this area with respect to MS, Nicola?
I think it's a really exciting area of nutritional science. From a MS point of view, there was an Iranian study published in Clinical Nutrition showing that when people took a specific probiotic for 12 weeks, then it improved their disability scores, so it improved their EDSS scores compared to placebos. And there was also benefits detected on some mental health parameters as well. And the probiotic contained bacteria such as Lactobacillus acidophilus and Bifidobacterium bifidum and Lactobacillus fermentum, if that means anything to anyone. Some of those terms we're familiar with, I think.
They're fabulous terms, aren't they? Real tongue twisters.
They are real tongue twisters. So those bacteria were shown to be beneficial. It's also important, I think, to note that some bacteria seem to exacerbate MS symptoms in mice models. So from that, we know that we do need to enhance the balance of bacteria in our gut by promoting beneficial bacteria and limiting the bad bacteria. But we're in very early days in this work, but really exciting, interesting work in this space. So it's back to the kimchi, kombucha, sauerkraut, and kefir.
It's a really great and a lot of information, Nicola. Can you provide a really brief summary
Sure. So my top tips would be make sure you've got adequate vitamin D levels via a blood test and sunlight and supplements as safely needed. Please enjoy a great anti-inflammatory diet with plenty of veggies and fruit and flaxseed. Number 3 would be eat plenty of omega-3s from flax seeds, ground and oil, walnuts, oily fish. And number 4, keep your gut microbiome as balanced as you can by limiting that sugar that's going to feed the bad bacteria, and take those probiotic foods.
And Nicola, I understand there is a nutrition tool on the MS website. Can you tell me a bit about the tool and who can use it?
Sure. So the Eat Well, Live Well tool is an interactive tool packed with information. You can go to the MS website, ms.org.au, and put in Eat Well, Live Well in the search bubble, and that will take you to the tool. And there you can find out healthy eating guidelines, facts about fats, superfoods, supplements, and how to manage certain MS symptoms such as constipation, bladder, fatigue, depression with diet, how diet might help in that space. And there's some brief information on specific MS diets and where to go to get more information in that space.
Fabulous. Thanks, Nicola. I'm imagining it can be hard to adopt a more healthy eating lifestyle. Do you have any tips for success?
Yeah, I think it can be hard to make any lifestyle change for all of us. So I think it's good to look at some behaviour tips. So just a few, of which there are many. Get a great attitude, jump in, get started. The studies do show that changing your diet in a healthy way is empowering and health enhancing. Maybe set yourself a very achievable, healthy goal using the SMART acronym, so specific, measurable, achievable, realistic and timely goals. Keep educating yourself is great. Think about food in a new way. Think about it in that Hippocratic way as a medicine. And I think one of the most, or maybe two of the most important things I've found useful is to spring clean my pantry. So get rid of all the junk food, so it's not to hand, pack it full of tasty, great food, and keep healthy snacks handy, because if I've got a Tim Tam to hand, I need to be able to reach for my nuts and seeds and healthy soup or protein ball or something as a way of resisting the Tim Tam. So keep healthy foods handy. I call that idiot proofing my environment, but that's just directed at me.
Certainly sounds like a top tip.
Okay, and of course planning ahead helps. Cooking double helps. So when you're cooking a healthy meal, cook more of it and freeze it. That really helps. And I think also just acknowledging that it's normal that we fall off the wagon or we fall out of our new good habits from time to time. The trick is, notice when it's happening. Be gentle and kind to yourself. Try not to tell yourself off. Just acknowledge, hey, things have slipped a bit, and then just resume your healthy habits again. And there will be birthdays, weddings, parties. Enjoy, and then get back on your wagon. But again, it's very individual. We all like to do our diets the way that we eat in our own way, and it's important to acknowledge that.
There's such a lot of information for people to digest out there, Nicola. Where do you suggest our listeners go for further information and resources?
Yeah, look, it can be really confusing, and in the nutritional space, Belinda, it can also be very conflicting. You can read the paper one day, it says one thing, and read something else another day, and it says something else. So it is important that you go to good sources for your information. So I would say, seek individualized support from a dietitian or a nutritionist or your GP. Everyone's different, so give yourself permission and time to see what works for you. Use good, authoritative and evidence-based information sources, and our Eat Well, Live Well section on our MS website is a great resource, and other reputable evidence-based sources of information, but be discerning.
Fabulous, Nicola, and thank you so much for joining us this week on our podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you, Belinda.
If you would like more information on anything that Nicola has covered today, please get in contact with MS Connect on 1800 042 138 or email msconnect@ms.org.au. Thank you.